think I just peed a little.
Let's add a circle and fill the face in edit mode. Then extrude it upwards. Now intrude the top face. And finally move it along the Z-axis. Now, let's add some bevel to the edges to really make it look like a bottle. And now to create this shape, we need to add a loop cut to the model and then duplicate the upper part of it. Now let's scale the upper part that we just created, and then we will extrude it along the normals to give some thickness to it. And now to create the neck, we don't need to use another mesh. We can extrude the top face of it to get desired result. First extrude it, and then intrude a little, and then at last extrude it one more time. And now, let's smooth out those sharp edges. Trust me, it will make it look better in every aspect. Now let's quickly make the cap of this model. Add a cylinder and resize it to the shape of a cap. Now I want you to add a loop cut and select some of the faces, then extrude them. Now, to make this bump a plane, we need to scale it. But where? We have to scale it along that axis where it's facing to. In this case, it's facing along the x-axis, so scale along the x-axis and press 0 in numpad. Now let's make this smaller so it starts looking like a bird. At last, intrude these faces and then extrude them so it will look like a hole, but you can just remove the faces that you're not going to use any subdivision surface in it. Now let's shade smooth and add a subdivision surface modifier in it. At last, make some loop cuts and bevel according to your need or your liking. Now, let's jump straight into texturing, where the real fun begins. Okay, let's add our camera in this scene so we can focus on our model. Just hit Shift+A, then Camera, then press Ctrl plus Alt plus numpad 0 to snap it right where we're looking. Perfect. Now our model is in the spotlight. Now, let's add a plain mesh and scale it around 10 to 20 times bigger. Go into edit mode. Pick the edge that's behind our model, extrude it upwards, and then add a small bevel. This gives us a smooth, infinite backdrop. Now let's scale all the mesh down so they react better with the lighting. Pro tip, set the origin to the 3D cursor before scaling, because that way it won't randomly float around in the viewport. Now let's switch over to Cycle's render engine. And yes, don't forget to drop in an HDRI for some nice lighting, or just stick with Blender's default one, since we're only focusing on the texturing part for now. Finally, since we've got two different textures on the same bottle body, let's use a neat little texturing trick you probably haven't seen yet. First, create one base material for the whole body. Then head over to the material section, hit that little plus icon, and make a new slot. Let's call it main body. Now, hop into edit mode, select the upper part of the bottle that needs a different texture, and hit assign. Boom, separate material applied. Since the cap and the top part of the bottle share the same texture, we'll just reuse that exact one here. All right, now let's give some love to the main body. Just pick any color you vibe with. I'm not here to make you copy me like a school assignment. I'm gonna play around, test stuff, maybe ruin it, maybe nail it. You do the same. Freedom, baby! Now let's drop the roughness a little and mess with the specular. Think of specular as the IOR of roughness. Easy way to say how shiny your surface flexes with the light. Now let's add a softer color than the main body, something lighter, calmer. And then we'll slap on a clear coat. Think of clear coat like a transparent layer of car polish or varnish on top. Your surface stays the same, but it gets that glossy, premium shine.
So please whatever.
And at last, I'm just going to add some color to the backdrop too. Nothing fancy, just a little mood to make the product pop. Now let's make the product float in the air, just to give it that premium vibe. For that, I'll move both the product and the camera along the Z-axis. This way, they stay aligned and it looks like the bottle is smoothly lifting off instead of the whole world shifting around it. Okay, so first I'll tweak a few things in the scene and then remove the HDRI lighting. I already changed some of the colors according to my liking, so now it's time to set up our own lighting. First, let's add an area light and place it behind the product to give that sharp background light. You see, it already became cinematic. Now let's duplicate this area light and place it on the other side of the bottle. This one will act as our fill light, softening the shadows and balancing the overall look. At last, I'll duplicate the light one more time. This one is going to act as the main light, basically the hero light that defines our product shape and adds that crisp highlight. Now I will just tweak the power and spread of these lights real quick. Main light stronger, fill light softer, and the background one sharper for that edge glow. No need to overthink, just balancing it so the product looks crisp and floating. And finally, I'll add a point light behind the product just to give the backdrop a nice, subtle glow. And lastly, I'll just increase the world lighting intensity a bit. Lighting setup done. Now let's move on to exporting our UV layout. First, I'll duplicate this model just to show you how it's done so the original stays safe. Okay, so now let's hop in edit mode and add an image texture. Create a new image. After that, select just the main body and hide the other parts to keep things clean. Pro tip, enable Live UV Preview. This way you don't need to unwrap again and again. You can see changes instantly. Okay, first let's delete the loop cut. Now press U and then unwrap. If you see a warning pop up, that means Blender is basically yelling at you. Mark a seam first, bro. Without seams, it doesn't know how to unwrap properly. So we need to mark the seams before unwrapping. Now if you can't able to see UV maps without selection, press this button here and it will start showcasing. Since we got our main faces unwrapped, let's hide the extra geometry we don't need. Now I'll scale the main faces so they fit nicely inside the UV box. This makes sure our texture fills properly without stretching. Once it looks good, we can export the UV layout as a PNG and use it in Photoshop or any painting app. Now that we've exported the UV layout, it's time to design the label. You can use any software you're comfortable with. In my case, I'll be using Figma because it's quick, lightweight, and lets me play with typography and colors easily. Make sure to use the UV layout as your reference layer so your design matches perfectly when we apply it back in Blender. Now that our label is ready, first, I'll add an image texture node to the model's body and load in the label we just created. Next, I'll bring in a mix shader node. I'll connect the alpha output from the image texture into the factor of the mix shader. Then, I'll add another principled BSDF and plug it into the lower socket of the mix shader. This way, whatever changes I make in the second principled BSDF, like roughness, metallic, or color tweaks, will only affect the label part, while the rest of the body stays the same. Now it's totally up to you how you want to design your label. In my case, I'm going for a bumpy, metallic, and shiny look to make it pop and feel more premium. But you can get creative, maybe keep it matte, add some embossing, or even make it glow. And finally, let's put it all together, set up our scene, add some depth of feel for that cinematic touch. and get ready to export. Now, I know you might be wondering about the best render settings. But don't worry, I already covered that in my last video where I also showed some cool product animations. So definitely check that out after this one. And now, the wait is over. Here's our final render. If you enjoyed this, make sure to hit that subscribe button and drop your suggestions in the comments. I actually read them all. Your idea might just be my next video.
So please subscribe, whatever.